Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my Wednesday lover, Ryan.
This is usually how people in the UK fall in love. They just sit around in their fucking squats and they just wait for women to come round.
It worked out for him in the 2001, I'm going to put quotes around erotic drama Intimacy, directed by Patrice Chéreau, starring Kerry Fox, Mark Rylance, Susanna Harker to a point, and the one and only Timothy Spall.
What do we do with all these secrets and lies?
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of secrets and lies hidden within this film.
There's more damning secrets and lies in this film. Poor Spall. He gets the Spall out though. I like it. It goes full Spall.
He does go full Spall.
Yeah.
He's a real treat and a treasure as always. And the synopsis from this film that I pulled from Letterboxd as always is: failed musician Jay abandoned his family and now earns a living as a head bartender in a trendy London pub. Every Wednesday afternoon, a woman comes to his house for graphic, almost wordless sex. One day, Jay follows her and learns about her. This eventually disrupts their relationship.
Wow,
and
okay.
The tagline is, every Wednesday, she meets him once per week.
Very literal.
I actually learned more about the film and the characters based on that synopsis than I did from the film, because you never find out why these people know each other.
Yeah.
But you know that
That's something I particularly like about the film, though.
I do like that as well.
You don't necessarily actually need to know about every single thing that happened.
You don't get the meat cute. You just get the meat.
No, you get the meat. The meat fuck.
Ew. No, you get the hog and you don't need anything else.
Yeah, hashtag conceal the hog.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think we're glossing over it and we went into it too fast. This is episode 99 of our podcast.
I know.
Yeah, more like episode 69, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No, yeah. Do you know what episode 69 was?
No.
How do you not know?
I don't remember.
I know.
I don't remember an hour ago.
Right, okay. Well, 69 was wetlands, if you remember. How do you not remember?
I do remember that one.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, but this film, it does some very interesting things. And I was kind of just like, I'm like, man, this film's really fucking good. And then you go on Letterboxd and then you look at the reviews. And this was something that kind of came to my mind, is that you look at those reviews and they're pretty scathing. Like, they're pretty nasty, because they're like, they do this thing, and I think it's so dumb, where you take a film from an established director, say like, I don't know, a Mike Lee, because there's a lot of stuff in this where you look at it and you go, this looks like Naked. And then you're like, well, it's kind of like 9 songs. And then you're like, oh, it's kind of a little bit like in the realm of the senses. I know Corrida. And you're like, and that's all the reviews you start seeing from people, is like, let's make this harsh comparison and say this is a cheapened version of something else.
Okay.
And I have some issues with that, where I'm like, they're looking at it, and I feel like a lot of it comes down to the fact that like they look at like the sex, and the sex is pretty graphic. Not as graphic, but it's pretty graphic. It's pretty in your face. It feels very real.
It's very close.
Very close. It doesn't really cut away from it, because we'll get into it, because there's some really nice bits in where the sex happens, where it's like the sex is going on, it's all in one shot, and then there's that little pause. There's like that period of just like the after sex, where you're like kind of left with your thoughts, because everything's so silent, and then the camera does a move, like a completely unmotivated move, but it's obviously getting there so that they can have like this conversation that never actually starts, and it does that with every single sex scene that we have in this, and I quite like it. But anyway, we're talking about the reviews, where I feel like if they're like, oh, there's sex in it and it's like quite, they like smutting it up is like cheapening it. And I feel like it's just kind of giving it a disservice because, you're saying, oh, well, Mike Lee wouldn't show the sex. And I'm like, what? Because it's like this idea that we have to over intellectualize like everything. Like we have to Chris Nolan everything and be like, wow, that's really smart. And it's like, no, it's stupid. Like it's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's like people say, well, it's a horror film because it's full of jump scares, but jump scares aren't scary. It's like a whole point of the horror film is that you're meant to show me something horrible that then clues in my brain where I'm just like, oh my God, if I was in that situation, I'd be fucking terrified. So yeah, I just don't think, I think the criticisms of this film are they're kind of lazy. And like it's being written by a generation now that's like kind of sexless, and you see that in films that you get nowadays where everything's kind of sexless.
I'm not sure about that. I feel like there was a lot of chat about that generation, the younger generation, being a little bit more prudish and not wanting to see sex on the screen, but then that's not really what we're seeing in the cinema as much as as it's touted in the news that that's what's happening. But I don't think that's actually happening in our cinemas at this point. So
I don't know.
Especially, on TV as well. I'm not going to, there's a lot more sex and nudity, I think, than we are led to believe.
Okay.
That we're given.
All right. Well, yeah, either way, I think we can agree to disagree because I don't know.
I mean, that doesn't mean that the generation likes it. I mean, that still might be an opinion.
I don't think they do. That's kind of where I'm.
I do.
Yeah, but you're not part of this current generation, though.
Don't remind me.
So
as we booked time off for a large birthday that's coming up. But you know what we haven't really talked about, and I'm excited because this is the first of probably several films we're going to cover of this director.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear about Patrice.
So I need to apologize. Well, Patrice isn't alive anymore, but
he did pass away.
He did pass away a number of years ago, at least 11 years ago, 12 years ago at this point.
Yes.
But I'm going to brutalize some of the names of his films.
Because they're French?
They're all in French for the most part. Up until a point. But anyway, we'll see. But yeah, Patrice Chéreau, French opera, theatre director, filmmaker, actor, and producer. There's quite a lot. Now, obviously, I'm not going to explain everything. But he was, yeah. Because there's actually way too much to cover. Like this guy's resume is thick. But he was known for his theatre work more in France, and he was known internationally for his films, basically. He's a winner of over 20 movie awards. His theatre and opera work is massively extensive, huge. It's at least 2 or 3 times longer than his filmography. And he also has a huge filmography as an actor and a producer as well. So basically, you can take this current filmography that I'm going to explain and give to you here, but then you can also triple it with him being an actor and a producer. So it's pretty crazy. Plus, he was also 2003. He was like the head judge, like the director of the judging panel at the Cannes Film Festival. So, yes, he has quite.
He did a lot of work in his 60.
Kind of like a Renaissance man. That's what I'm trying to think of. He's like a Renaissance man, but he's kind of like a Renaissance man. But it's all within like this particular field of the arts, though. He'd kind of have to write some books and.
He's not a carpenter
do
as
some
well.
Painting, yeah, you'd have to do more than just that, I guess. But anyway, not that that's not enough. Sorry, but yeah. So we start in 1975 with here we go, with La Chair de l'Orchidée. In 78 we have Judith Thirpause in 78.
If I could read your handwriting, I would just do it for you.
Yeah, because you can't read my handwriting. In 1983, we have Les Hommes Blessés. In 86, we have Hôtel de France. In 91, we have Contre les Eaux Bleues. In 94, we have Queen Margot. Now, this is a big one. This is from 96, and it was for TV. Dans les solitudes des champs de coton. And then we start getting into the English titles now in 98. So for those who love Make and Take the Train, in 2001 we obviously have Intimacy. His Brother came out in 2003, Gabrielle 2005, and Persecution from 2009. So I think I cracked it. I think I did okay there.
Okay.
Is it all?
You're lucky that when we go on vacation to France, that
I won't
I'll
be doing any of the talking. They'll be like, God, this pig, this fucking animal, bastardizing our language.
Wow.
It's pretty funny. I mean, I'm pretty hilarious.
Yeah, you can get away with it.
Yeah. I'm a Scotsman, so I'm like...
Exactly. I have to try harder because I'm American.
Yeah, because they hate you already. They haven't even met you. They're just like, oh my fucking Christ.
I hate me too.
Yeah. No, Scotsmen are known as being a little bit cheeky. So, I think we're fine.
Wonderful. Well, this film is loosely based on Hanif Qureshi's notorious novel of the same name, but more specifically, it's from the short story called Nightlight, where the author describes an encounter that takes place every Wednesday between two people who meet and have sex but never speak to each other. Now, that author also wrote My Beautiful Laundrette, which I thought was fun because that's a great film.
I mean, that's a British classic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
and this film being Intimacy is widely considered to be the first theatrically released film in the UK to clearly depict fellatio.
Okay.
And it's unsimulated. And I
feel like there's a lot of sex in this that's unsimulated, though.
There's not. Why
do I see an erect dick going into a vagina at one point?
It looks like it. And I think that was a big part of the chatter around this film when it came out, is that it looks real, and there was a lot of stuff going around about it being unsimulated, and I think that it finally came down to them having that conversation where when they were filming it, only that part was unsimulated.
Okay, I see.
So that kind of came through Kerry Fox's now husband, Alex Linklater. He wrote he's a journalist. He wrote an article for The Guardian back in 2001. He was dating her at the time, and he was kind of discussing his initial issues and intrigue with his girlfriend, Kerry, taking on this film.
Interesting.
And it's a long, long article, but it's really quite interesting kind of hearing from his perspective as a partner of someone who is looking to take the role.
Okay.
And his opinion, because he's like, is this voyeurism on my part? Am I jealous? Like, how does he tackle in his relationship with that actor this much sex and this unsimulated sex that's happening?
That's kind of oddly interesting, because the minute that you said it, I was like, oh, fucking hell. It's like, and it's also a Guardian article as well, so you're just like, okay, here we go, because it sounds a little bit pretentious when really it's something that's relatively quite simple. But I think it is a bit,
but I think there was a conversation. I'll read you. I have kind of like a chunk of extract, which I thought was quite interesting.
Okay.
But they had a conversation where he had to draw a line. Well, he actually shouldn't have any opinion whatsoever in a way, but they together kind of drew a line where penetrative sex was crossing the line in terms of her deciding to take on this role.
Right.
Where they kind of settled on the fellatio as, okay, this we can handle, or she can handle.
Okay. But
not penetrative sex.
Okay.
So this is kind of just a little snippet from the long article, which you can find. It's on the internet.
Yeah.
So he wrote, "There is oral sex which you see, and there is the extremely effective illusion of two ordinary people making desperate love. So why, if it's an illusion, the need to go as far as the film does? Why the need to show real oral sex, even if only briefly? And why the need to show more often Mark with an erection? The answer is simple. It is to take the internal logic of a work of art to a conclusion. That is its integrity. In this case, it is to take a story that deals with sex as far as the actors can allow, without compromising their personal lives, and to elicit from them the most powerful performances of which they are capable.
So this, I think, well, he's nailed it there because I feel like this was our main criticism of Nine Songs.
Right.
Because what Nine Songs did was they focused on the sex, and the sex wasn't interesting. The speaking, like the conversations, the communication between the two characters in between the sex was what was interesting. And that's the thing. That's the same thing with intimacy, is that the moments where they have sex they aren't as interesting as the drama that surrounds the sex.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's a very specific, very particular reason why in these occasions they decide not to talk. And I think that's also another thing why the sex scenes themselves become, you know, they're more interesting. Plus I think they're shot relatively quite well, and they're shot in an interesting way because you're looking at a very human, intimate moment that basically takes place in almost complete silence and without a sense of like a human connection being made other than just this very literal, physical, mechanical process that they kind of march through. Because it's like the sex itself in this film is like it's as a characterizing device. So like you're looking at something that's, you know, it's like a movement piece basically. So you're looking at how they move, how they interact with each other, how their bodies come together, the mood, their attitudes, and like how you're able to kind of see. Because the thing is like the minute that communication, like verbal communication, comes into the mix during these moments, it completely changes their mood. And I think I wrote something down here that it was like, you know, when they do start to speak, it's because they can't understand or fathom what they're doing without some level of like language taking place here. Even though obviously the minute they start using the language to try and figure out what it is that they're doing, it kind of destroys and belittles what they're doing, in that it has to have like more meaning behind it than it actually ends up having. So
right, because as soon as language and entangling kind of whatever their lives are opposite from this particular situation, it ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, the minute they start talking about their feelings,
terrible.
It's like nope, not fucking interested. Because that's the interesting dichotomy of this narrative, is that for the most part, because I feel like the story itself, we've kind of already told the story. It's going to be more interesting because it basically starts off as it's dialogue less. You know, we get an idea of Mark Rylance's situation, and then it kind of just goes. Like that first dick scene is effectively that first sex scene. It's like it's only 5 minutes in. And
it
kind
is.
of continues that way for the next 30 minutes.
Maybe every 10 minutes or so.
In the
beginning of the film, for the most part, it's just every 10 minutes, it's another Wednesday.
Well, it's figuring out the routine of this man. And again, like you're looking at his apartment, you're looking at his home, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then this woman just turns up. And you have no idea who she is. You have no idea who he is. And you're just then... He ushers her into the house, and then they just start undressing each other, very mechanical, and then it just kind of starts.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's variations, things are different. They seem to have sex in the same room or near the same room, and this is like a 3-story house. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
And it's a house that the way that they show it is that it's like it's locked in time. because there's flashback moments that show that like this house was alive. It was full of life. There was a family there, and we find out that Mark Rylance's character had a wife, had 2 kids, but now they are no longer in his life anymore, and he's kind of living in the shell of that life that they built together.
Well, he said he made that decision that he didn't want that life anymore, and he just straight up left.
Yeah, and then he came back to nothing, it seems like, which is kind of, to me, it's like the most interesting way in which that can happen, is that he basically goes off to try and find himself to then come back to absolutely nothing. And he continues to stay in the house, and it's rotting and it's deteriorating slowly. And it's a really interesting set piece. At least I feel anyway. But we're brought into this routine, and it kind of stays this way for a while, to the point where I'm like, is this the film? Like, is this it? Where it's kind of like, that would have
been really rough.
It would have been rough, because that's one of the main, and I'm not going to bring up 9 Songs again, but that's again one of the main issues with 9 Songs, is that that is just painfully uninteresting sometimes.
He gave it a shot. It didn't quite land. This is a beautiful balance of that. And it's got Timothy Spall in it.
It does, yeah. A lot of things are improved with Timothy Spall.
Most things, yeah.
But it's kind of like, I think, it's interesting that these moments, as silent as they kind of remain, when people do start talking, like when they start interacting with each other, is when you're just kind of like, well, this is fucked. And also, I do think that Mark Rylance, just as a person, the character he is playing, I just don't think he's a good person.
I don't think, no, of course he's not. No. I think he's quite awful.
Yeah.
When you really take in everything that he does in this film, he's really not great.
Yeah.
As an actor.
Yeah.
Top tier,
but as the person he is playing, he's playing a man called Jay that we find out later.
But that's another thing, is that you don't learn the main characters' names in this film until about an hour in this 2-hour film.
But that's because no one's talking to each other.
I know.
Which is, again, is very interesting. Yeah, it's incredibly interesting. But the thing is that, because it's like we're probably not gonna go from scene to scene to scene. I think it's a case of like we take each moment, because there's at least 4 or 5.
There's
moments.
5. There's 5. Okay, well, the first one, at least, the first penis scene happens, like you said, 5 minutes into the film. We don't know these people. And I did read that Kerry Fox got carpet burns after shooting this film. They shot all of the sex scenes in 1 week, in a 1-week block of shooting.
Okay.
Closed set, and the director thought it would be best because it's not erotic. It's not sexy. You will not get aroused by watching these scenes. If you do, I mean, good for you. But because it's quite taxing.
Or not good for you, you freak.
It was quite a taxing shoot. So after each scene, it's a closed set, but he would make sure that no one, like the crew, wouldn't come in and kind of bombard them after they were done shooting each of these scenes, that they would like get a moment to kind of collect themselves, because, it was quite a lot on them.
Okay.
And let me see. I don't know. How do we talk about this?
It's kind of like, how do we talk about this?
How do we talk about it?
Because it got to the point where it was just like, you see his dick so much that you're kind of just like, all right, that's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. But here's the thing, it's like, it's incredibly effective. And it's kind of like, we're looking at a film that's shot the majority of the time. handheld. It's very fast. It feels quite frenetic. They're using long lenses for the most part, so there's not like any defining wide shots. It's wide shots that end up just being wide, even though everything's on a long lens. So again, it's like it's all very close and it's quite claustrophobic, and you're not getting the information that you think you might be getting about these characters. You don't know their name. Like, the way the dialogue is also kind of introduced into the film as well, is it feels kind of, I wouldn't call it stilted, but it's like, it's kind of dry and it's interesting. And
That's
yeah.
almost half an hour into the film, really, where you learn a little bit about Jay. You learn that he's the bar manager. You meet who is going to be his new best friend, that lovely French man.
The French gay guy who is hired on, and Rylance is just like, who's this fucking twerp? Because he does that joke on him where he's like, he takes a little swig of his espresso that he's just made, and he goes, put this in the fridge so I can have it later. And then he finds it on the shift, and he's like, you fucking idiot. I didn't expect you to put my coffee in the fridge.
Oh, I was confused.
Oh, really?
It's his boss. It's like his first day.
Yeah, no, he was fucking taking the piss out of him.
Maybe he likes a cold espresso.
No, he doesn't, because he took it out, and he was just like, yeah, well done. You fucking believed me, clown.
He listens to his boss and his instructions on the job, and I think that is endearing.
I think the best thing you can do as an employee is stand up to your boss. That's what I think you should do. You should tell your boss to go fuck themselves. And you know what? In most occasions, you're correct. So. And
his other best friend,
Victor, the Scotsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a moment where we argue with it. I liked it. There's a bit where there's an Englishman and a Scotsman and a Frenchman in the room, and the Englishman and the Scotsman can't stand the Frenchman by the things that he says, that they turn around and they're just like, you little cunt. And it's the only time in the movie where I was just like, that's interesting. That was funny. But yeah, no, it's like, there's just a lot of really interesting things in the film. I don't think the film is perfect. I do think that, like, you've got your central characters, you've got your Rylance, your Fox, and your Spall. And I think all three of them are actually incredibly good, but I feel like a few of the other bit players I'm not that really interested in. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
Like the acting students, I'm not a big fan of. That scene itself, I'm like,
I did get it when we got to the acting school. I was a little bit like, we're off the rails. I don't know if I like this, but then it pulled me back in when she started crying, which because okay. Let me rein this back in a little bit before we're jumping around too crazy.
Yeah,
like starts off 5 minutes in, we have a penis scene. 18 minutes in, we have a penis scene. The first time, I don't know if it's because the audience is getting a little bit kind of weaned into the situation where it is a little bit awkward. The floor, everything's dirty in his flat. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's gross.
And I wondered, how long has this been going on? Why is she letting him? Why are they having sex on the floor? And it's kind of quick, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. 18 minutes in, it's another Wednesday. They seem to be having a little bit more fun this time.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, he doesn't use a condom in one of them.
In one of them.
Yeah.
It was maybe like the last, not the very last one, no. It
could be the one with the BJ, potentially. I'm trying to remember which one I wrote it down for, but there is a moment where she doesn't expect him to use a condom. He doesn't use a condom.
Oh gosh, I don't remember because there's 28 minutes, almost 29 minutes in, and that time they have a little snooze together, and then he just watches her from a chair.
I thought that bit was really interesting.
I liked that. Well, I think this is the part where he starts getting emotionally involved. He catches feelings, and he just gets obsessed. I think maybe this is the moment where that turns, because then at 36 minutes and 10 seconds is the the unsimulated fellatio scene. It's
Yeah.
not very long, but it is, what is the word? I don't know.
I mean, it's brief.
It's brief, but it's compelling.
Yes, it is compelling.
And it really kind of, I don't know. It's great. The scene is just really well done, you know?
Yeah. But then after that,
it just goes crazy.
Because, like, you know, the sex doesn't stop necessarily, but it's less, it feels like the passion is being replaced with, like, obsession
on his part,
like a little
only.
bit, like a little bit of rage. Like, people are angry and pissed off that things are, you know, they're noticing that things are changing, and I think it's probably because, like, there's now feelings involved.
There's that interesting moment, and I wish I'd written down exactly what he said, but his French friend, when they're standing outside of that kind of food cart,
right?
And he's trying to figure out Jay. He's trying to figure out Mark Rylance. And he's like, why aren't you just enjoying the moment where you have two people together and you're not expecting anything from each other?
Right.
Because later on, all you're doing is expecting and taking from each other forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why can't you just live in this moment where you don't expect anything? Because he's wondering, what am I giving her? What is she giving me?
Yeah.
What's next?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just enjoying the company of each other and not expecting anything in return. Because why can't that be enough?
Yeah.
Why can't just this intimacy, this sex, because they're both incredible. It's such a lonely movie.
Yeah.
They're
very
so
lonely.
lonely.
It's very, the film does a really good job of just making sure that you know how alone they are. How lonely they are.
And then when he starts following her, I think he gets even more angry seeing, at least from his perspective, from the outside, how full her life is.
Yeah.
And it really sets him off. It really upsets him when he barges himself into her life, sees that she's an actor and she is physically on a stage acting. I think that also made him mad.
Yeah.
Like, are you acting with me? Like that classic nonsense, you know,
Yeah.
what's real, what's not real. And he sees her on the stage. He barges himself into the life of her husband.
Yeah. And this is kind of like,
I don't think he knew that he obviously didn't know that at first. But
No.
then when he finds out that Timothy Spall is her husband, he just leans into it.
he starts to almost sabotage it.
He absolutely
He really gonna
sabotages
start
it.
to sabotage it. But the thing is like, he's just such a cunt about it. And that's the thing. It's
He's
like
so entitled.
he's with this woman and this stuff is happening, and like we just said, he should just be happy with that. And if like this is what this woman wants, then he should just be happy with this until something other than that comes his way and he's able to kind of plow his life into it and stuff. Because it's obvious she's probably not wanting that, and we do find out that that's kind of how it is, this emotional game of tennis that they're playing. But yeah, he does. He follows her. He starts to see more about her life, and then I think he just starts to become jealous.
Yeah.
And it just starts to spiral.
When you have this Timothy Spall is a wonderful dude.
He's just
but
he's an honest working
Andy,
man who
right,
has
Andy.
kids. Yeah. Aye.
You meet Andy, you meet his kid, and they're so sweet and welcoming. And
he's a very simple man with simple pleasures. I mean, that's really what it is.
He's the first part of all of her shows, and he's always there to help set up, and break things down, and help people out when they need help. The little kid is the cutest little boy.
Yeah.
And he watches all of his mom's shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this guy coming in, laying everything out. And he wants Andy to know. He wants to ruin their lives.
Kind of over-intellectualizing him to try and make him feel like he's stupid. like doing things like that.
But also he goes in and then just explains the whole situation to him, which makes Andy realize what's actually going on.
Yeah. And it's kind of the cruelest way in which to do it as well, I feel like.
Stringing it out as well over time, you know.
And it's like the way in which Jay has met Andy is just as a byproduct of the fact that he is effectively stalking his wife, because his wife comes by every Wednesday. And he's like, well, Wednesday, I've got a lot of business. I get a lot of business on a Wednesday. And it's like, you can see the cogs in his head start to turn. And it's kind of, it's just this really kind of sad build up, because it's not going to, it's not going to go well.
No, it's not going to go well. And what good would come out of that at all anyway? Because he says, "Oh, what if that was your wife and she was sleeping with a guy every Wednesday?
Yeah,
what would you do if she didn't want to leave you and stay with you?" And he's like, "Well, I guess that would be enough."
Yeah, probably.
Bummer.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it'd be rough, But then it's like the more Jay gets to see into like their lives and stuff like that, the sex becomes less than passionate. It's kind of aggressive. There's that.
One of those is a rape.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
Pretty much a rape.
Yeah, where he spits in his hand and stuff like that.
Disgusting. And he coughs. It's foul. Well, she ends up crying about it because she knows how she feels about the situation.
Yeah.
She knows that it was pretty much a rape. And she also knows that this is the beginning of the end of this relationship with Jay.
Yeah.
Because you can't go on like that.
Well, she does keep on coming over, because that's the thing. Like, she does keep on coming over, and I think there's a level of confusion involved in it as well, because the minute they start talking to each other, it's like game over. But that's the thing, is like she does keep on coming over by that point to the point where Victor comes to live in with Jay as a lodger, and it's obvious Victor has some fucking drug issues. He has some problems.
Yeah.
But the thing is that she does continue to come over, but then Jay also starts making excuses as to like why he won't be in the house on that Wednesday. And he's just like, well, if anyone knocks on the door, just don't answer the door. I'm just going to go out. And it's like he's also like they're seemingly trying to find a way to escape this situation. It either ends and they don't interact with each other ever again, or it continues, but it continues in the way that it's supposed to. But the problem is that if it does continue that way, people start getting more touchy-feely about things. And it's just, to me personally, this is where it gets very interesting, because it's all about a bunch of people who are living their lives, but not to the full potential of those expectations that they were looking for.
Right. It gets to a point where they're definitely at an impasse where you can't go forward anymore, pretty much just because of how Jay is acting, in my opinion. Because he goes over the edge and he has feelings. She is trying to figure it out on her own, but once he crossed the line like he did by imposing himself into her life and her relationship, it's done.
And it kind of comes down to just like he had the expectation that they would just be together at a certain point.
What a silly goose.
He was being silly. I mean, that moment where Timothy Spall shows up at the bar when he's working and then basically pours his heart and soul out to the man. And Rylance just kind of retorts with, well, I've stopped seeing her now anyway. And it's like, but you just destroyed this man's life. Like this pretense of like what he held dear, where he's just like, every day I love her a little bit more. And I'm like, I'm like, oh my fucking Christ.
I got goosebumps just by you saying it. It's so
because that's the thing. Like to him, it's everything.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
a cabbie who helps his wife out every time she has a show, and they have a son together, and they live a relatively quite humble life, and it seems quite nice, to be honest. And Rylance kind of just sums it all up with just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to see it anymore. And it's like, yes, but you just came into my life and you just fucking ruined it, basically. And it's an incredibly kind of sad film, actually, overall.
It is very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad and lonely, but damn, is it fascinating.
It's very gripping. So,
yeah, there is one more nude scene we don't really need to talk about, but it's an hour 46 minutes and 35 seconds right at the end, where it's basically a sad Mark Rylance in bed.
At that point, I was just like, I'm good.
Yeah. What did we say again?
I think it was like, what do you mean? What did we see again?
When we were saying put it away, Mark.
Oh, conceal the hog.
Conceal the hog.
Conceal the hog. Yeah, we were done. We were done at that point. But it's it's fascinating, because I think things like this are fascinating. Like, they're interesting, or at least to me they are. Like, people just trying to live their lives, and that's what Spall says at one point. He's like, this fucking life we all lead, like this, as if it's like this is the dance you dance, this is the walk you make, like that sort of thing. Like, it's interesting. It's interesting.
When they even have that confrontation in the most awkward cab ride of all time, and I can't remember exactly what she says, but she brings up Jay, and Andy just starts screaming. Like, it's not about that. Like, I don't even want to talk about him. I don't even want to talk about this. And then he starts going on about how she's never going to make it as an actor. You know?
Well, I think at that point, like, he's trying to hurt her.
Of course.
Because he's hurt. And it's not nice what's happened to him.
No.
He doesn't deserve it, or at least he feels like he doesn't deserve it. But then again, like, you know, we're dealing with a bunch of characters who, for the most part, we don't really learn their names until much. Like, so we're getting like a snapshot of obviously what is quite a very built out and quite dense history that these people have, and we're kind of seeing little snippets of it.
There was an interview that I was reading with Mark Rylance, which I think it's a bit sad, and I'm going to read it for you anyway.
Cool.
But he said that this is in 2015, so recent. Oh gosh, that's 10 years ago. I was like, recently.
That's a while ago.
Oh my gosh. He said that all of the tabloid headlines and all the press about the film put a strain on his marriage. And in that interview, he said, "It soured me on my life for 2 months. It's my mistake, but I felt Patrice put undue pressure on me on set to do that. And at that point, I didn't have the confidence as a film actor to say no. Now I think a lot of actors that people say are difficult are actually being sensible." I think that it's a real shame that Mark Rylance has said that he regrets making this film, because I think he does an incredible job. It's a really, really well done performance, and I think this movie's really fascinating, personally.
Yeah, but it's obviously taken a bit of a toll on him for like doing it, because it's a pretty intense piece of filmmaking, yes, for the most part. So
he must not have had a conversation with his wife like Kerry Fox did with her boyfriend at the time, because they really, really, like, they read the script together. And I know he's a journalist, so we got to see in that article that he wrote about the process of them figuring out whether this role was right for her and how it might affect the relationship. But they ended up getting married, and they had a family after that. They're still together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
transparency.
Well, that's the thing. It's
communication.
everyone's a grown adult in this situation. It's just, it's either for you or it isn't for you, you know? I'm pretty sure they're not going into the situation being completely blind to the fact that, yeah, this might be a bit rough, but, you know, this is the fucking life we all lead.
This
right?
is, this is pre-intimacy coordinators as well. And Rylance had said that this film would have benefited from having an intimacy coordinator around.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to do all the things that they did.
Of course.
But maybe it would have made him feel more comfortable as the actor performing these scenes. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. I understand that.
This film, as the director is much awarded.
Yes, he is.
This film won the Golden Bear for Best Film at Berlin Film Festival.
Yeah.
And Kerry Fox won the Silver Bear for Best Actress.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
good.
She's amazing.
Yeah, no, she's very good in it. Very, very good in it.
Would you like to jump into ratings? I'm ready. Unless you have something else to add about the film. I really could talk about the scenes at the pub where they're playing pool and
terrible pool as well.
Terrible
like
pool.
Awful pool.
The little kid, about the play, there's so much. I could talk about Timothy Spall. I want to have a Spall cast.
It's just
Love
kind
him.
of like, it's just I don't want to take away, because there's nothing that we could explain that makes it. It's just like, wow, I feel more informed. This is better than it would if I didn't know this information. You know what I mean?
I don't have anything like that. No.
No, it's just.
I do have one thing. I do. Oh my
Jesus.
gosh.
Right. Okay.
I don't. Well, I'll just have to remember it because I can't find it in my notes. But
I have this one thing that I don't remember.
I have a lot of notes. Oh, I found it. Patrice Chéreau originally wanted Gary Oldman for the lead. But he didn't want to do all the sex. He wasn't interested in the sex.
Come on, Gary. You can't go into a film called Intimacy and not fucking do the sex.
You got to do the sex, Gary.
Weirdo. Yeah, come on, Gary.
Well, apparently Gary showed Patrice around for potential shooting locations in London.
Yeah, I mean, well, Gary's done a bunch of that stuff. Tons of that stuff. The Firm, just getting it done. That's
Gary's
fine.
amazing.
Yeah, Gary's all right. Yeah. I mean, I guess we get into the ratings now.
Okay.
What are we going to do? For the scene, visibility, context, 5 stars, no notes.
5 stars, also no notes.
Yep.
Great visibility, great context. You're doing a movie like this, especially based off of the source material, which intricately describes the sex scenes. That's what it's about.
Yep.
And the notes also for the film were quite explicit and specific. So I think that they really beautifully achieved what they set out to do, where boundaries, at least on Kerry Fox's part as the actor, were not pushed, and they were quite clear. And
I think it's the only way something like that works, and that's it. And I think it works in this film. Honestly,
it does. I think it's great.
And that's the thing, like, as much as Mark Rylance is like, oh God, I really regret doing this film, that's because it's done so effectively. So that's kind of unfortunate on his part, is that it's done so well that it's like actually affected him.
I'll send him an email.
On a deep level.
I'll go, you did a really good job, and it's a great film. Don't be sad.
No.
Mark.
Embrace it, Mark. Come on, Mark. Embrace it. I mean,
Embrace
that's kind of
the
fucked
hog,
up.
Mark.
That's kind of, well, I think that's the problem. I think that was his issue. It's just like, God almighty, can I just put it away? Please.
Patrice, can I get dressed? No.
No, it's like, Patrice, I'm a little cold. He's like, no, I'm not finished.
Everyone else can leave except you. Oh, no.
I need some time with Mark.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I haven't rated this on the whole Letterboxd app, but I'm going to give 4 stars for the film overall.
Okay.
I think that I liked it a lot, and I'm glad that we own it from Kino Lorber.
Yeah, it's not going to be a once a week sort of watch.
It's
but
not going to be an every Wednesday.
No, but it's...
It's something I would love for people to borrow, if someone came over and was browsing the shelves. Like, oh, you know what?
I feel like more people could
one.
see this. I would show this one to Josh. I think this would be right up his alley. I think it would work for them and maybe their event, because it is pretty... If you've never seen it before, like, it's pretty fucking uncomfortable.
And the uncomfortable scenes are not the sex scenes at all. No. Absolutely not the sex scenes.
It's the obvious crumbling of a man's marriage.
Timmy.
Oh, poor Timmy.
Timmy, no.
Oh, these secrets and lies. So topsy-turvy. No, I started off with 4 stars because I was like...
Did you go up?
I did, yeah. I gave it 4.5 because you can't forgive that fucking drama school scene. It's too long, and I don't think the other bit part players in that scene are actually good enough. I understand why
they are
it's
an acting
there.
School.
Yeah,
Ryan. They're an acting school.
God,
they can't be that good.
That's an inception.
They
isn't
were
it?
so bad.
They're acting.
They're acting so
also, maybe
well.
They're the best actors because
Yes.
they're acting badly while they're actually acting school. Jeez, that is an inception. They're
acting bad very well.
That's an enigma in a Pandora's
so well
box.
That you thought they were actually bad, but no, that's acting.
Fuck. Shit. So, well, then why did her friend continue to be bad in the scenes when she wasn't at school? How do you explain that, hot shot? Yeah, you don't. Right, there you go. End of story.
Okay.
But I gave it 4.5 for everything else. Yeah, that's me.
Wow.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoy a film like this. I enjoy
this is
stuff
right,
like this. This
right
is
up your
right
alley.
up my alley.
This feels like a Mike Lee.
Oh,
I'm in.
It's no Secrets and Lies, but Jesus fucking Christ.
What was the new one? Hard Truths?
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Yeah, really good. There's people out there who didn't even like it. I'm like, fuck off.
They didn't do the titular line in Hard Truths, which was a hard truth for me to have to swallow.
It was rough. I don't know what.
So easy to do.
I can't remember what I gave Hard Truths, but it was probably 5 stars.
That's really good.
Yeah, this is because again, I don't agree with people comparing, this film to Mike Lee, because Mike Lee's got his own thing going on.
Of course, but it's got a vibe. It's got that lonely London vibe.
It does, yeah, because it does.
Of the late 90s.
It does, yeah, it does.
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah. Pre-terrorist attacks, probably. I think that's kind of when things start to change, is that terror attacks start happening a lot more. In the early 2000s, so that is the watermark moment. I feel.
Okay, great. Well, what a treat! I'm glad we picked this movie. It's really good. It's sad, but you're not going to cry. You're probably just going to squeal from being uncomfortable. But that's pretty great.
Yeah,
it's Heineken probably sponsored this movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to you from the Earl Derby pub, which is no longer a pub. I looked it up on Google Earth.
Yeah.
Empty.
That was
Save our
sad.
pubs.
Yeah, that's sad. See what happened? See what fucking 2001 brought us, guys.
Save our Earl Derby pubs.
Yeah. Aye.
Oh,
well, it's not a pub called Free the Pedos now, is it?
No, it's not. It's a shuttered, closed up, empty building.
Wow, that's sad. Yeah.
There's a problem. We got to save the pubs in the UK.
Also, if you're a smart arse just like me, you'll know that reference is from Peep Show. So I don't think anyone should call a pub that ever.
A pub for pedos?
Well, Free the Pedos.
Oh.
That was Super Hans' name for the pub that him and Jeremy bought. And it's it has a washing machine in the middle of the room. And they're like, so we're going to clear all this stuff out, right? And Super Hans is like, no, leave it there. It's perfect. And he's like, well, we're going to call it something like the Bull and Bush or any of this. And he's like, no, we're going to call it Free the Pedos. And he's like, yeah, it's like people out there voted for the Nazis and like Coldplay. You can't trust people, Jeremy.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's It's more relevant now as a clip than ever before. But yeah, you know, the lost and forgotten, but not really forgotten, classic show from Jesse Armstrong. So
Season 4, episode 6
yep.
of Peep Show. There you go, everybody.
Yeah.
He described the episode. At least the best joke in that episode.
At least, well, yeah,
Peep
it's
Show's
the best
great.
part. Peep Show's amazing. Yeah, Peep Show's amazing.
Coming to you from the Earl Derby pub and not the Free the Pitas pub with the washing machine in the center of the floor, I have been Laura.
I've been Ryan.
And we will see you at...
Ryan Lance.
We'll see you at 100. We'll see you at 100.
Yeah, we'll be at 100 next time.
What a treat.
Yeah, and what treat will be?
We don't know yet. We have to record it.
Yeah, I have no idea if it'll be a treat or not.
Disaster!